Crystal, thank you first and foremost for being here and joining me with this conversation today. It's great to get to actually go in depth into a little bit more about your nCino background and how you got to where you are now. But first and foremost, can you just tell me a little bit more about yourself and your background?
Absolutely. Thank you, Jessica, and thank you for having me and thanks for the time. I have a background in banking, consulting, and program and project management. And my primary focus is helping financial institutions implement digital transformation programs end to end using tools like Salesforce as well as the nCino bank operating system. I'm currently serving as an independent contractor with M&F Bank, which is a community minority institution with over a century of really rich experience and history. And so my goal there is to serve as a strategic advisor on all things and lead them through this next phase of their nCino implementation.
That's awesome. They're very lucky to have somebody like yourself with such a rich background in nCino to be able to help with these strategic initiatives. And so, what kind of sparked your interest in nCino in the first place?
Great question. What sparked my interest in nCino was it's a story from over 10 years ago. I was
Wow.
introduced to nCino back in 2013 while working for a bank, and my cube mate at the time would review nCino University every day, and I had no idea what nCino University was. And so one day I just decided to ask him, "What are you working on?" And he explained it to me, and everyone was so excited. There was so much buzz around nCino because it was so new. I started to read about it as well. And years later, I was hired by nCino to be a project manager. And now I'm serving as an independent contractor working with banks and credit unions, helping them to implement nCino. So it's not necessarily, it's funny to me, but it's definitely a full circle moment.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like there's a few different routes I've seen people take within nCino, and it's either they go directly to nCino proper and work within the institution itself and then veer off into helping the end users, or it's being grandfathered into a bank that's already using nCino, but seems like you've really touched every part of the puzzle, starting at a bank, then going to nCino, now independent consulting. And what's your experience being an independent contractor or consultant with Empiric been like so far? How have you been hopefully enjoying it?
The word that comes to mind is refreshing. Working with Empiric has truly been a great and really smooth experience. It seems like Empiric really values aligning your skill set with the appropriate projects and organizations and taking into consideration your goals as well, which I've worked with other recruitment companies and they're not as well versed in doing that. And so this has been really a great opportunity for me. And I think my current engagement is just a great match. And I feel very
Wow.
fulfilled with the organization that I've been matched with.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think one of the most rewarding parts of my career is when a role comes across the desk and I can immediately think of somebody who aligns so well with not just the JD and the job itself, but with the company's mission and their values. And so I'm so glad to hear that's resonated with you as well, because it really was such a seamless process with you as well. Just from or the initial conversation about the role to now, everything has been really great. And I think that it's going to be a great relationship to continue down the line, hopefully with M&F for a while or other projects down the line will be great. And then looking towards the future, what do you think is the biggest driving force right now in terms of digital transformation within either nCino or AI or cloud adoption? Obviously, you've been working with nCino for about 10 years now, so I'm sure you've seen it transform over the years.
Jessica, that is a great question, and I love these questions about the future. So the biggest driving force in the industry right now, digital transformation and cloud adoption are definitely still at the forefront of the
Yeah.
marketplace. And I think that financial institutions have finally embraced the technology and understand where and how it plays a role in their institutions. And so we understand it better and than prior years. But I think the shiny new toy, and everyone's talking about AI
Yeah.
and best to adopt it in institutions. And my thoughts are, I think institutions will be required to think about AI in three key buckets. I think external from a
Hmm.
safety standpoint, cybersecurity, how are we going to utilize it from that regard? And then two, internal. So how can
Yep.
we improve workflows and how can we become more proactive instead of reactive with our
Yep.
customers and members? And then I think from a customer perspective, how can we empower our customers to make the right financial decisions
Yep.
based on their specific scenarios and situations? So I think all three of them are still big driving forces, but definitely AI is going to be the one that's talked about the most in the near future.
Yeah. Definitely lots of exciting things to look forward to. And I'm really glad to get this insider insight into what the future might look like within financial institutions. As a young adult myself, young professional, it's super interesting to learn about what retirement in the next 40 or so years might look like with these AI and nCino initiatives. And in terms of envisioning nCino technology, how do you see that is specifically evolving over the next 5 years? Obviously, there's various integrations coming out every month or every few months, and there's been really cool initiatives. I'm curious to hear what you think.
Yeah, I think, and I don't know all the answers, but
Yeah.
my educated guess is I think they'll continue to evolve in a couple of ways. I can see nCino continuing to perfect existing functionality and
Okay.
expanding their capabilities and their reach in the industry. The goal at nCino was always to be a global leader in cloud
Mhm.
banking. So I think they'll double down on working with their current customer base and understanding where they can improve the
Yeah.
existing functionality. Also, I think adding new partnerships and integrating those additional vendors is possible. The way I like to think about it is like blocks, building blocks. And so
Yeah.
I think they'll continue to add additional building blocks and just build a bigger and better machine.
Yeah.
Again, improving just the overall functionality for their end users. And then
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's something that I can totally envision and see pushing forward in the future and being a leader in that space.
100%. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they were the next leader in AI as well. And so, with your current projects going on over at M&F Bank, are you seeing these initiatives for like transformation within nCino, or how do you see the team differentiating themselves from other competitors, small community banks that might also have an LOS system that they're trying to leverage?
Yeah, I think M&F is in a unique position. They have
Hmm.
a really deep understanding of the local market,
Okay.
and the bank is all about making banking personal. And
Yeah.
so I think that they do that very effectively. And so with nCino providing streamlined workflows for their employees and associates and adding additional options and features for customers will be beneficial to overall customer satisfaction in the future.
Hmm. That makes a lot of sense. That's really great. I think that the focus on personal banking and community banking is awesome. And I'm really glad that you get to be a part of that. And now veering closer to the nCino professionals itself, not just M&F or the banking institutions, but the people that work for them. What do you think has been either the biggest challenge or the biggest opportunity for nCino professionals in the past few months or this past year?
I think the biggest challenge is keeping up. I
Yeah.
think that the pace is so fast. I think I would say that the biggest challenge is keeping up to date on what's happening in that ecosystem.
Yep.
Because when you are in the nCino ecosystem, you're also in Salesforce as well. And so staying up to date on what both of them are doing, and then to be the best professional that you can, it includes staying ahead of the curve. So not just staying on pace, but also staying ahead of the curve. And I think that nCino professionals who can master not only the technical side, which is
Yep.
staying up to date on those things, but also being able to see the vision of an organization and helping them implement those tools surrounding their strategic goals is going to be something that nCino professionals should really focus on. And it can definitely be a challenge, but it's a good challenge to have.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for explaining that. My next question was going to be what advice do you have to stay relevant? But I think you answered it. I think just being able to stay in the loop and understanding what the next strategic initiatives are going to be. Do you think that professionals looking to now break into the nCino space, can they go directly to the nCino website, or how do you think people who are looking to get in a position similar to yours should start? Where should their starting point be?
I would definitely say nCino. So to start all the way from the beginning before you get to nCino, it's always going to be about learning Salesforce. So a
Mm,
mentor of mine explained to me, you have to know Salesforce before you can truly understand nCino, or at
yeah.
least is the preferred way. And so I would suggest Salesforce Trailhead for beginners.
Okay.
If you're already in the nCino ecosystem, definitely nCino Community, and they have universities. So there are a lot of different tools that they provide if you're already in that community. So those are great resources. And then I would say if you want to dig a little bit deeper, definitely studying for certifications is the
Mm,
best way to immerse yourself in that ecosystem, and it helps to challenge you and keep you up to date. And so that would be my advice.
yeah. Yeah. Now knowing how much work it really does take to get those certifications, when I come across folks who have 20 plus, rather between Salesforce and nCino, I'm truly blown away. Just one certification is such a feat and such an accomplishment. So it's always great to this community is sharing and giving and always willing to help each other out and help a fellow nCino user to get to that next phase of their career. That's another part of the nCino community that I love is just how many resources people are willing to provide and help each other with, which is awesome and seems that's a really great way to go about it, just going into the community. And so what skills do you think have been more recently most in demand for nCino professionals? Like with those certifications, have you noticed an uptick or a sparked interest in specific skills?
I would say as nCino continues to expand, again, a strong foundation in Salesforce is essential.
Yeah.
And then bank processes. The data analytics is going to be high on the list.
Okay.
Any experience with workflows and process improvement. And then the soft skills like stakeholder communication
Mhm.
are highly sought after skills in the industry right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm seeing the same thing, same things you are. That's awesome. And so I guess just I would be curious to learn a little bit more about the professionals looking to get into either their beginning of their career in nCino or transitioning to another part of their career in nCino. How has working with recruiters, not necessarily just myself, but in recruiters in general, helped you advance your career?
So working with recruiters has been pivotal in my career advancement as an independent contractor, because recruiters have the knowledge,
Yeah.
they have the network and the resources to align with you with the appropriate organizations. And so it's been
Hmm.
really great working with you and the team over at Empiric. I've felt a boost of confidence working with you all just because you're so well versed into the specifics of the nCino market. Very, very great working with Empiric, and definitely I would say anyone looking to get into independent consulting, I would definitely say to make sure to choose a recruitment company that aligns with your professional goals.
Yeah. 100%. I think that last point you made, aligning with professional goals and also working with a recruiter that has that network and actually truly understands the job that you're looking to do is so vital. So is that like one of the qualities you would look for in a nCino specific recruiter?
Absolutely. There are a couple of things. Transparency and communication are so important. Having an open line of communication so you understand where you are, where you fit in terms of their pool of talent, and
Yeah.
then having a true partnership. And so with Empiric, I've definitely felt a true partnership with you all, being able to, again, as I mentioned earlier, align not
Yeah.
just skill set, but think about your goals as a professional and also just working within the parameters that you may have for your career. And
Hmm.
so I think transparency, communication, partnership all help to, I guess, boost mutual success between all parties.
Yeah, 100%. That totally makes sense. And I think back to your point about, especially for independent consultants and contractors in the nCino space, those roles typically they're not going to be on like a LinkedIn or an Indeed. That's purely from relationship building between somebody like myself and a client, really understanding their goals and where they're trying to be and presenting them with a person who could fulfill those goals. So that's really where those relationships and that those connections come into play, because you're not going to have a job posting to necessarily apply to. It's all through just the transparency and communication. So do you have any advice for people seeking to get a role of an nCino role through a recruiting agency or a recruiter in general?
The advice I would give to someone looking for an nCino role through a recruitment agency is just to be very thoughtful
Mm,
about sharing your unique strengths and what you bring to the table. So making sure that you have those things written down and you understand exactly what you're bringing to the table, and also sharing what your goals are as a professional. So when the right opportunity does present itself,
yeah.
it's truly a good fit. And be bold and ask questions, to make sure that recruitment agency aligns with what you're looking to do as a professional.
Yeah, 100%. I think so often there will be a conversation that I have with a candidate, and I believe that this actually happened between you and I, where we spoke, I think it was July, and I learned about your background and we discussed, what your goals are. And it wasn't until a couple months later, I think September, that the perfect role came around. So it's not always going to be an instantaneous next day, here's the best role for you, but it's about keeping that open line of communication going with a recruiter, updating them on any timeline changes or changes in your career, because you never know when you're going to get that call with the perfect role across their desk. And I guess just to wrap up, were there any specific resources or publications that you recommend for nCino professionals that want to stay most up to date or with the latest in the industry?
I would recommend a few specific resources. Again, Salesforce Trailhead is awesome for beginners that are looking to dive into that world. And then also from a banking perspective, American Banker is a tried and true publication that's been around for a very long time. And that will help you to stay up to date on the financial services space and any industry trends. And again, studying for certifications is the best way to immerse yourself. And also, in addition to that, I would say
Mm,
network. So reach out to people that are in the community, because from my experience, everyone in the nCino community has been super helpful,
yeah,
very responsive, and wants to help you succeed. And so I would definitely say to network as much as possible.
awesome. And what are you most excited about within the nCino world right now?
Ooh, I would say I'm most excited about the evolution of partnerships.
Mm,
nCino is always evolving, and they've added new partnerships with other software vendors, and it is expanding their reach with the
mhm.
platform. And then the use of AI, the potential to
Okay.
predict customer needs and be proactive again instead of reactive, is going to be a game changer in the industry. And then I think they're just getting faster. It's very exciting because as companies get bigger and larger, most times their ability to be agile and flexible decreases, has proven to do the opposite and become more agile with time. And so I'm very excited about that.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. That's all from me. I really enjoyed learning more about the nCino insights you have. I'm glad that we got to do this. But if you don't have any other questions, I think that's all.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you
Yeah.
for the time.